Hey guys, in this video we're gonna be doing this discussion video on modules 7 through 8 and all the other past readings in modules. So let's talk about it. So from module 5, California's educational history and structure. One important idea from module 5 and the reading the California Foundations of Education that I have found very interesting and kind of unique was that has shaped by historical inequalities from the beginning. Even though even though public education even today was supposed to provide opportunity to our students, to all students of race, many groups such as Black, Chinese, and Native American students often have experienced segregation or exclusion in the early years of California schools. So in my opinion, I think that it should not doesn't have to be that way, and I think that all students of all race, regardless, should have equal opportunities to get an education and to not be segregated. So some of the policies such as Serrano versus the Priest has attempted to challenge funding inequality by making arguments that school funding was based on property taxes and was created to create unfair differences between school districts. However, Proposition 13 later was changed how property tax system and limiting funding for public schools. I think this wasn't seem fair, because how is school supposed to provide? This makes me question how school's supposed to provide proper resources and materials to our students, and opportunities to our students, and even programs and activities to our students that want to participate but can't do that, or required for their academics but can't do that because of schools being poorly funded or limited funding by the districts or by the states from property taxes. That just makes some of the things I just don't understand how the states get to control how they control the money, the fundings for, and how it should be used and where it should be used. That's one of the things I just don't understand. Learning all about these policies has helped me to understand how school funding structures has continued to influence our educational opportunities even today. Even to this day, schools are just there are a mass majority of schools that are underfunded, and there are wealthy schools. So that are like, some people are meant to only for like people that are in wealthy neighborhoods or rich, or that are allowed to go to those schools, and poor people or people that live in poor neighborhoods or can only go to the schools that are like well underfunded or just with limited or lack of resource. So I don't think that's, in my opinion, I don't think that's really fair. So housing segregations in schools from module 6 and 7. So the readings and videos in modules 6 and 7, including the video of the redlining video and the UCLA Civil Rights Project report, has helped to explain how the housing segregation has shaped it in school inequality, or by addressing how they addressed it. The redlining video has prevented many families of color from buying homes in certain neighborhoods, in which limited economic opportunities and investment in those communities, because schools are tied to neighborhoods and local property taxes. This has created significant differences in school funding and our resources. So the connection between housing and education shows that inequality in schools is not just about academic performance, but it's also about broader social policies that affects our communities. So my initial thoughts on that is that I believe that people all communities should be able to have access to go to good school, good school for their children to receive high quality education, and not based on where they live or economic biases. That's just creates a significant difference in our society, and that's just not how we want to live. Race as structure from Module 7. So the materials from Module 7, especially the PBS documentary Race, The Power of an Illusion, and the readings of Hartlieb's The Model Minority Myth has explained as I was reading the module, as I was reviewing the materials, the documentary, PBS documentary has explained that race is not simply about personal attitudes, but it is built into social systems and structures. So the documentary also explained that and shows that how race was that historically constructed and used to justify unequal treatment and access to basic rights. Hartlieb's work on the model minority myth has also showed that the stereotypes can shape expectations for different groups of students. And so overall, all these materials that I've read through has helped me to understand how the race narratives can influence our educational policy and expectations for the school. So all the module 7's readings has helped me have a better understanding and connection to to how these can change the expectations of what our schools have for our students, regardless of their race or their skin color, or just how race is used as construction to justify the unequal or unfair treatment towards our students. Now, mass incarceration and schooling from Module 7. So the Brian Stevenson TED Talk video that I watched from Module 7 has made me to seriously consider about how punishment narratives influence both our criminal justice system and school discipline policies. So Stevenson has made some strong arguments that our society often focuses on punishment rather than understanding people's personal circumstances or personal challenges. That's got them all motivated to act in a certain way. So, which I have to strongly agree with that. So it's like in schools. So schools, this appears through like policies like the zero tolerance policy, discipline, which can lead to suspensions and expulsions, which students will get expelled. So, which I think that's pretty hard. Sounds pretty harsh. So, and which can lead to suspension. Okay, so these policies sometimes contribute to the school to prison discipline, where students are pushed out of the classrooms for consistent misbehavior and into the criminal justice system. So I think that Stevenson's emphasis on empathy or dignity that highlights the importance of supportive environments in schools. And I have to say I have to agree with that, because why? There should be better ways. There are better ways to handle situations where students are constantly misbehaving or just causing it, or just behaving in ways where we don't want them to. But punishing them outright and just expelling them or suspending them it's just a bit too harsh. I say that as future teachers, I think we should figure out talk to the student and figure out what's going on, and just start developing a plan to correct that behavior, instead of just going all around and just suspending them and kicking them out of the classroom. All right, because because to me, in my mind, what's that going to do? Because that's just going to, all that's going to do is just make them continue to do it. It's just going to make them continue to do the behavior that they're doing, continue the bad things that they've already done and been warned about. So, yeah, that just makes, honestly, those severe punishment in same with our justice system. People are being sentenced just facing harsher punishments or sentences to jail or prison. for crimes that they committed. But which is, I understand that, but at the end of the day, we're all human beings. So at least we all should be treated with we all should have dignity and pride in ourselves and just be treated fairly. Because even though there are people out there that are criminal that commit horrific crimes, they're still people at the end of the day. We don't know what those people have gone through, or maybe because a lot of people may not have a great childhood or have parents or may not have parents or somebody in their lives that love them. So that's why it's not the best to make assumptions, and that the child that the people, especially children, may not have strong parental figures or guardians at home that look after them to discipline them. So now the culture of poverty myths from module 6. So the readings, Paul Gorowski's the myth of the culture of poverty from module 6 has challenged the ideas that students even today are struggle academically because of their own attitudes or family culture. Instead, Gorowski makes an argument that structural inequalities like underfunded schools, housing crisis, or housing segregation, and economic disparities play a major role in shaping our educational outcomes. And I have to agree with that because all these things that's going on, if students don't have secure housing or anything like that, they will struggle tremendously in their academics, and that's what affecting their educational outcomes, and that's not what we want. So this reading has helped me to understand how deficient thinking about students can be harmful because it places all the blame on individuals rather than recognizing the system challenges. So they're just rather blaming on individuals for these issues rather than just acknowledging the system challenges that we currently have, and how to fix it, how to make changes so that our students can make things a lot better for our students that are, and families and communities that are in house segregation or having any other issues across the United States. Identify my future. So across modules 5 through 8, several of the readings have made me to think about how my identity shapes the way that how I interpret and view the materials from modules 5 and 6 throughout this whole course, throughout the semester. So, for example, Brian Stevenson's Tech Talk video discussion on dignity and justice has emphasized the key significance of recognizing the humanity of every individual. And yes, as a future elementary teacher, I would like to design a classroom where all my students will feel respected, they will be welcomed and valued for their identities, cultural backgrounds, and their experiences. So, understanding the history of segregation, housing inequality, and racial narratives throughout this course has helped me to think more internationally and critically about how to support those students from diverse backgrounds. And so tensions and realities. So, for modules 7 and 8. So one tension that I saw from modules 5 and 8 that has kind of raised some concern for me was the challenge between educational equality, equity, and accountability systems. So for example, like policies that were designed to measure school performance and can sometimes create a lot of pressure on the teachers and schools, and even when they are working within the systems has shaped by inequalities. The Civil Rights Project's research on segregation and all discussions about funding structure shows that schools do not all start with the same amount of resources. This creates a challenge for educators who want to support their students, but must work within broader structural constraints. And I think that kind of touches me on that, which not nobody. Everyone all educators want to work in a system that's going to give them fair shots to give to their students to become successful. My big reflection for this video is one of the biggest ideas that will stay with me from modules 5 through 8 for me is the understanding that educational inequality is deeply connects to our social system, like housing, funding policies, and racial narrative. The readings from California Foundation of Education, the PBS documentary Race, the Power of an Illusion, and the Brian Stevenson TED Talk have all helped to illustrate how historical decisions and policies continue to shape the opportunities in education today, which has shifted my mindset, how I view this, and how I should make these changes for myself and for my schools, for my classroom, and how I want to build a classroom environment for my students. These materials has definitely shifted and changed my thinking about how race in schooling. Before this course, I often would think about education mostly in terms of like classroom instruction and delivery. However, these modules have now helped me to understand how that schools are influenced by larger structures such as housing segregation, the funding systems, and the policy decision making by the states. As a future teacher here in California, this perspective is very important. It's very important because it encourages me to think more critically about how schools can support equity. Being a reflective teacher means that I acknowledging the different experiences that my students will bring into the classroom and working to create an environment where all my students will feel valued and supported all the way. So all the modules have also leave me with some questions about how educators can address structural inequalities while working with the existing systems. Even though teachers may not control the policies like school funding or housing, they can still influence the classroom environment by promoting respect, inclusion, and opportunity for every student that walks in. So overall, these modules has helped me to get a better vision of education as a part of a larger social system. So understanding this context will help me to guide my future teaching and remind me of the importance of creating equitable learning environments for my students and all those at all schools that deserve higher education, high quality, equal educational opportunities for their futures.